Welcome to Celtics Stuff Live on the CLNS Media Network, the leading online provider of audio and video coverage for the Boston Celtics. I'm your host, Justin Poulin. Joining me is John Duke, and the Celtics finally, it seems, have their groove somewhat back. A little bit of a struggle in game two of a home and home against the Detroit Pistons, or I should say away and home. It depends on how you look at it, but an away and home. And the looks like Kyrie Irving may be back. That's exciting. Great couple of games. They leapfrog a previously undefeated team in the standings. That's right. Detroit was 4-0, and then they ran into the buzzsaw Boston Celtics, getting contributions from everybody on the team. Really kind of nice. I know we got an injury to deal with again, so we'll talk about that as one big man comes back, another one goes out. We'll get to that. But we also set up a mailbag for this week's episode. And so before we get to all those things, and I know some of them are going to leak into our answers to these questions, John, but why don't we kick it off with a Twitter mailbag? Nice to see the Celtics back on track, though.
Yeah, great to see things kind of where we thought they would be. I thought, after this week, it kind of feels like we're kind of getting that equilibrium. Water's finding its level, and that's just nice to see. It's really frustrating start to the season. So I think the Celtics finally kind of finding their identity. I think that was the most frustrating thing. It wasn't so much the missed shots. It wasn't even so much, the losses. It was just that they weren't playing as themselves. I think that was probably the hardest thing to watch. And now we've seen over the last week or so, even in the loss, I think, to Orlando, kind of the start of that, and the horrendous first half against Oklahoma City, they started to find that themselves, which I think that's what we're looking for. Win or lose, a game against Detroit here, the second game against Detroit, probably not the best game of the year, probably one of the more uglier games to watch. But
well, especially at the beginning of the fourth quarter, geez, can't even buy a bucket. I think it was near 6 minutes, might have even crossed over 6 minutes, but major drought in the fourth. They build a couple of double-digit leads, can't hold on to them. I will say it seemed like Hayward had come back a lot faster than Kyrie, but that second game in Detroit. And happy Halloween, everybody, by the way. By the time you're listening to this, it will be Halloween and Scary Terry's holiday. I think we can just go ahead and say that that's his day. But it hasn't been his week necessarily. I haven't seen him quite as hot as of late. But Kyrie definitely finding his groove again. And that's probably one of the most important aspects of the developments of the last week. Is there's no doubt his handle was starting to come back, but he had a couple of baseline moves. He had a nice little bank shot. And I also in that game was excited to see the Celtics, kind of take it to the rim when they weren't getting those buckets, because they kind of live and die by the three. They fall in love with it for stretches of the game. And even after that 6-minute drought, they kind of got their act together. I know Jalen wound up hitting what I would consider to be the clinching three-pointer late in the fourth, but at the same time, they did go and got closer to the basket. Even Mook passed up a three, took a couple of steps inside, swished it. That's what they need to do. They can't be so transparent at the close of games that they're going to stand around outside and shoot buckets and try to put it away that way. They've got to be more aggressive to the hoop, and it was nice to see him do it.
Well, I think that's the biggest change probably over the last week too, has been paint touches. I mean, just getting to the paint, creating causing the defense to collapse, and then getting open 3-pointers. In the early part of the season, it was pass around the 3-point arc and try to, okay, your turn, now your turn, now your turn, as opposed to, create something off your dribble and create a shot for somebody else. And I think we see that now with regularity, particularly the last 2-3 games, that the Celtics have been able to do that. And they have the playmakers, and they have the shooters who can make someone pay for that.